Well, next episode of Data Shark, today with my partner in crime, co-founder and CTO, Avi Perez. Avi Perez, don't make it Australian or English.
It's Australian. It's Australian, yes.
No, it's not. It's Avi
Namibian,
Perez.
actually. It's Namibian, actually.
All right, so tell us your background. What's happening with your life? What's going on?
Well...
You sound exciting.
What's going on now, or what
no, you have a very unique background.
Yes.
How about we start with that?
Okay, sounds very exciting, yes.
Avi Perez, born in Namibia, of all places. Wow.
That's right.
That's
I'm
crazy.
Namibian. See if you can find that on a map. I understand it has the lowest population density for a country in the world.
Wow.
2 million people.
Okay.
And there's nothing else there. I think there aren't even 2 million animals. They're all dead. Lots of diamonds. There used to be, anyway. Yes, so Namibian.
So instead of going into diamonds, you ended up in the data analytics space.
That's right.
That's kind of stupid.
We're still digging for things. Except there, when you dig up something, it's precious. In data, you dig up something, it's normally garbage. But
exactly.
yes, it's bad news. You never find any good things. But yes, Namibian, then South African, then Australian.
Then moved to America.
America, but I was smart not to become an American.
That's for all of our American viewers.
That's right. Yes, we love America. Sorry, I was going to choke there. And what's left? And then I became an Israeli.
Finally, you got to a proper place.
Yes, finally. That's the way I would put it. Yes, yes. And how is your alternative passport situation working out for you these days? Where was it? Lithuania, I believe.
Lithuanian, yes. I'm still working on it, but actually, I must say that in those days, I kind of feel proud to be here. So, jokes aside, I am feeling pretty humble being in Israeli. So, it's and you have way more experience in how it is to be a Jewish person outside of Israel. We won't go too deep into that discussion, but I think that's kind of your background in all kinds of places, that Jews were not the majority of the population. Does it make you appreciate being in Israel today more than before?
Yep. I think the current moment we're in right now is the craziest time I've ever experienced in my life. And yeah, I think it was a point in time when people are asking you, what are you doing here? And go back to wherever you came from, where things look a lot easier. But without sounding alarmist, I think you could make the argument in the absolute opposite direction. I think we're a Jewish population under feels like global attack, honestly. It sounds crazy. I mean, maybe we're talking to ourselves in a little box, but feels a lot better to be here. And I don't say that about any kind of... it's not a question of religious belief or cultural belief. You actually just think like, wow, when it comes down to it, yeah, there's plenty of places in the world today where it could be a lot worse. Including the obvious places, America, Australia, UK. It's kind of crazy. We live in a very strange time.
Sadly, we are. So let's take a comic relief of that.
Let's go to a happier space.
Exactly. So we met... it's crazy to say that. I think I had lots of hair back then.
You didn't.
No, I didn't. Unfortunately,
I must say, I'll tell you this.
But we met more than 15 years ago for the first time.
And one of the first things I liked about you is that you technically had less hair than I did.
Well, I think we're kind of even.
I'm not going to be so embarrassed.
That is true. That is true.
Right, yes.
The Jewish gene or the Israeli helmet in the army, one of those made us lose hair. So
I remember where we met too. We met in that restaurant opposite Kikar Rabin. Do you remember that?
Did we? Wow.
Yeah.
Is it still existing?
Well, who knows? I've never been back there. You know what I'm talking about? The coffee shop?
The coffee shop?
Oh, God, I can't even describe the name. I'm terrible with names.
There was definitely a great burger joint that we used to go to.
It's not far from there.
Yeah.
But it's not that. It's like the block up. Anyway,
Well, we met over 15 years ago.
Yes.
Introduction was made by a mutual ex-friend of both of us. Yeah. No, but he did one thing good, which was introducing us to each other.
yes.
And I think it was, I must say that at least for me, it was, without being too emotional about it, but it was kind of love for first sight. I
Really?
felt that, yeah.
Not for me. Where are the cameras? Not for me.
Yeah, he's still chasing me at night. But it definitely felt that there is a mutual understanding of how we feel about entrepreneurship, where we want to take it, the passion, the excitement. But you had longer tail, longer history in the analytics space, which started long time ago.
Years
So
ago.
you want to share with us a little bit on that? So we'll
All right.
know how
It's kinda-
backdated you are in the analytics market.
So I got involved in analytics when we didn't even have email. 1993. There was no email in Australia in 1993. We were using some crappy system. I remember people going, "Have you seen this thing called Lotus Notes? It's amazing." It's unbelievable, right? It's 30
Yeah.
years. It's actually 30 years now when I think about it. Yeah, it's unbelievable. So yes, there was no analytics. There was Excel. Excel
was.
ruled the waves. And I remember how I got into it was, here I am working in the finance department of a big bank, and I got sick and tired of being asked every 20 minutes, well, could you do the report like this? Could you do the report like that? What happens if this number was here? Could you go into that number? Da-da-dee-da-da. Everyone took hours to create these stupid reports, and they were dismissed in 10 minutes because the person asking for them didn't really understand what he wanted until he saw it, which is not entirely unreasonable. So the problem wasn't the user. The user knows what he, or was looking for what he wants, or she wants, but it was a he in those days. And so you were the guy for having to run around, do all this crap in Excel is to drive me mad. Like, again? Yes. Again? Yes. And went on for months. So finally I had enough of it. And this predates the internet. Think about how crazy it is. I found a company online. I think it was with like Lycos or Excite, one of these crazy things. And they happened to have their software. I must have been something I could download. It must have been that they didn't send it to me. It was a German company. Downloaded it. I installed it. They had no manual online. I had to work it out backwards. Very funny. And then from that, I understood what they were doing. I thought, wow, this is amazing. Imagine if A, B, C, D, F, G. That's it. That's how I began. It actually came from just wanting to get out of the stupidity of what everybody does. And you know what the funny thing is? As we see all day long, everybody still does the same crap 30 years later. We're still doing the same stupid nonsense. Okay, the data got more interesting. There's more of it. People can do cleverer things today. But at the end of the day, people are still fumbling around trying to work out the basics of their business. And if only they had a better way of doing it, then wow, wouldn't the world be better, kind of thing. So amazing. We're still not there.
Yeah, it's. Yeah, I don't want to jump into that, but maybe we'll pose from the background and jump forward to generative AI or AI that we also very much involved in. If you think about the challenges that we still need to solve are the ones that you ran into 30 years ago, do you think that AI is actually a real revolution?
I think the latest stuff that we're seeing is really unbelievable. You know, when you think of how much clever crap it's doing for you, when you ask it a question and responding the way it does, it's astoundingly good. It still is a gap. There's still a gap between what we see with the cool stuff that it does and answering real, in our world, real business problem questions. We still have an air gap between these two things. But on its own, it's quite unbelievable. You can ask it a question in any language you want, and it pretty much gives you an answer, whether it's correct or not. It sounds like a human went and answered it for you, which is kind of staggering if you think about it. That's how clever it got. The funny thing is, the whole deep neural net thing itself is not that new. Really, I mean, it's not like it was invented last week. It's been around for a long time. But I think OpenAI and the ChatGPT thing really turned on, exposed something profoundly unbelievable and strong that is just staggering. But in our world, we have the extra problem of taking that kind of coolness and sticking it on top of your data, you company data, or you private data, and that's still an air gap. There's still a huge mountain to climb there. That's what we do. That's effectively what we've solved. Is how do you make those two things work together? So you get the coolness factor, but it's actually relevant to your company data. And even that is still a challenge because not all company data is in a format that is easy to fiddle around with.
So that's the future.
No doubt. Yes. You want to be Captain Kirk on the Enterprise saying, fly me to, beta 12572, go.
So mentioning Captain Kirk, you just revealed your geekiness. Back to history.
My geekiness.
Yes. So
the fact
back
that
to the
you
background.
knew that Captain Kirk means you have the same
That's
level of
kind of
geekiness.
true.
Yes.
Well, I can't hide that.
And your age. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, that is true. We'll talk about your age in a few minutes.
Okay. Good.
So back to the background.
Mm-hmm.
So banking kind of exposed you to challenges with understanding data.
Yep.
Moving to America and starting a business actually in that space. What was the trigger for that?
The .NET bubble had popped. And we were sitting around thinking of a great idea.
Isn't that a great time to start a business?
It was crazy times, and we thought, like, why the hell not? Let's try this thing out. I must be honest, I thought it was just a minor stepping stone, because we were all thinking, well, we'll do the net pet store, we'll make the next Amazon, we'll eBay, Schmeebay, we'll come up with our own one, which, by the way, we almost did one in Argentina, funnily enough. That's another story for another podcast. But all these crazy things, at the end of the day, it wasn't the fallback, but I thought, like, who would ever think this is serious? The funny thing is, 20 years ago, no one actually thought much of data, AI, machine learning. This was not a cool thing to do. You were creating the next .com yada, yada, yada thing. It wasn't like, wow, you're going to just take that. It sounds unbelievably boring. And here we are in 2023. I would probably tell you the biggest thing in the world today is AI. And the thing sitting behind AI is the data. It's all about the data. So, in other words, that was actually way ahead of its time. We just didn't know it. And it's a bit of a shame. It's a pity. We could have done a better job. But, actually, it's really true. Today, data is probably the main currency in the world.
It is.
We just, it's just a question of who can come up with the best widget to make something profound out of it.
Which I think we probably, no attempt to advertise pyramid, but I think we're sitting on one of the strongest harvesting machine out there for data, right? So if you think about
Correct.
Data is the biggest oil out there, then we're probably sitting on the strongest machine.
Yeah, look, any data-rich industry, the only thing that's valuable is the data. From banking, banking, insurance, to some degree, organizations like even government, who are not actually producing anything. The thing that matters the most is the data. That's it. I would argue most internet operations today. I don't want to belittle something like Amazon, which is a huge conglomerate with things all over the place, but one of the most valuable assets by far is actually the data, working out how to do it. Google is selling you lots of things, but its most valuable asset in the end of the day is the data, which they then flip it around and find a way to convince vendors like us to advertise to people like you, so that they make money out of it and they make gobs of money out of it. Everybody's got a variation of it, but Facebook as well, right? It's all about the data more than anything else.
Yeah, and I think when we think about the use cases that we help our customers to solve, not the big scalers that sell to the public audience, but in our space to our customers, it's interesting to see that analytics and data analytics specifically became mission critical. When we started, and definitely when you looked at BI 20, 25, maybe 30 years ago, it wasn't mission critical.
Oh.
It was maybe nice to have. Today, nobody even thinks to run their business without analytics or harvesting data. Not everybody's great at doing that, and that's why we still have a phenomenal business. But I think that what happened since we started, and maybe it would be interesting to kind of talk about that journey, is that analytics became mission critical. If you have a complex business use case, you won't dream solving it, with a pen and paper and some intuition and maybe my experience.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think what's actually happened, if you talk about our experiences, we've seen people finally getting it, but not just in certain industries. We're seeing it going across the board. From even the most low-tech, let's call it uninnovative, if there's such a word, or non-innovative verticals, people suddenly realizing, well, wait a moment, look at that. If we did this, we could make ABC changes, and that can make us X amount of profit. And the funny thing is, if I'm not doing it, my competitor down the street is doing it, so I have to do it. So, yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think on top of that, the game has changed from questioning whether I need it. Now the game is, how do I do it, and how do I do it faster and better? And then worse than that, or better than that, depending which way you're looking at it, how do I get the most or the least technical person in my organization to still tap into that magic? Because if I don't, that means I'm not running at full power. So that's what we've seen. We've seen that 10 years ago, the game was all about what used to be called the data analyst, the professional, sophisticated user. And today, a huge part of our marketplace is still driven by those people, but the use case has gone down to, no, we need this for everybody. What have you got for everybody to play with? In fact, if we're not coming to market with an everybody solution, you're almost not actually a leading answer to the customer's problem. So yeah, it's changed. 20 years ago, this was the realm of high-end technical users, and 30 years ago, it was the realm of 3 people in the whole company, who turned up with glossy charts to the next board meeting and everyone smiled. So it's completely changed. And that's back to your question, where will Gen AI end up? Gen AI will make that, it will lower the bar even further. So anybody can type a question in or ask a question, a really clever question, and get a really clever answer. If you get to that point, then that's really the ultimate goal. So, should I buy, stock in Microsoft tomorrow morning? Obviously, no, you shouldn't.
Short the stock. Short the stock.
That's right.
Excel is dead. It's gone.
It's over.
But there is to that point something that we in Pyramid use all the time, that we don't play in the data visualization business, right? You like to say that we have pie charts, but they are as round as anybody else. It's more about really solving complex business problems. So it shifted from glossy reports to board meetings to really building a culture around data and analytics and driving your business from behind the dashboard.
Yeah. I mean, again, not to repeat the timeline again, but I think in the last decade was all about visualization, because people thought if I got the pie chart out, our famous pie chart, then that's it, I'm done. Look, honey, I built a pie chart at the office today. Look how clever I am. Like, no one cares. Because the pie chart's probably telling you something you already knew. Maybe not all the time, but it told you something very obvious and very basic, and you saw it. Great. But that's not actually what you want. You actually want to wake up tomorrow morning and go to the computer and say, okay, how should I run my business? What should I do? We always joke that, if you're running the factory, you say, exactly how many chairs should I make tomorrow morning?
Right.
It's not how many did I make, how much wood do I have, but can you actually tell me how many chairs I should make and at what price and who should I sell them to? I mean, if I tie it back to us as a business, we're also asking those questions. Who are our most successful customers and why? How do I find more of them? I mean, they're very simple questions, but it's incredibly profound and difficult answers to find. And that's exactly what I think we aim to do. We're here to answer the sophisticated problems and the complex business problems with incredibly powerful software, as opposed to, ABC 1, 2, 3 kind of stuff.
Yeah, we used to talk at Pyramid about autonomous businesses, right?
Right.
Probably half a decade ago.
Yeah.
Do you think it's going to happen?
No.
Why not? I was excited about that.
No, can't see it.
Avi, where are you? At the beach. What?
No.
No,
It's not gonna-
Pyramid is running the business for us.
No, it won't. It won't. It maybe. You know what? With the new Gen AI, maybe in 10 years you can see do. And if they can get the Gen AI stuff to do repeatable, reliable mathematical computations en masse without lifting a finger, it could happen, and it will happen. By the way, genuinely, it'll happen. Not anytime soon. Not universally, and not at a price point that we can afford. Everyone forgot that to run, OpenAI's ChatGPT. I think I heard this maybe a year ago. It was costing them $3 to $4 million a day before it really caught on. So it's not cheap. The horsepower required is not cheap, and that means that it's actually going to be quite difficult to get it to a point where it can become ubiquitous. But I would say it's just a matter of time. And then I'd love to go to and say, okay, well, looking at our accounting data, what should we do tomorrow?
Yeah.
Look at our marketing, what should we do?
We do have customers that in certain use cases, in maybe microcosmos of the whole concept of, autonomous businesses, they do run using Pyramid, the completely autonomous
That's a slightly different story.
Scenario.
You're talking about a business which runs off its data with the entire data factory generating anything. So that's a slightly different angle. I was thinking more along the lines of where you have an AI robot running the entire business. But yeah, if you take specific use cases today, I think you could say that. I mean, I'll give you an example, right? We have got use cases as one example of a customer looking at IoT data from their equipment, automatically pumping into their data lake, data state, whatever word you want to use. It's running through Pyramid. In Pyramid, we're fixing, cleaning, preparing that data. Then we're running it through machine learning algorithms to work out which machine is going to fail, which machine is going to have a capacity issue. And then based on that, it automatically pumps into either some kind of notification for the manager and say, hey, this machine's going to die tomorrow morning, do it. Or sends a message to the supplier and says, please send me 3 more hard drives because machine number 12 is going to run out of room tomorrow. That's pretty close to autonomous if you think about it. So yeah, I mean, there are use cases like that. I'm thinking enterprise Captain Kirk level autonomous.
No, we definitely all eventually, when you think about AI taking over the world, that's what you think. But I'm saying in practical terms, we already implemented solutions to some of our customers that really takes over the business and free the people to do maybe more clever stuff than just the mundane work.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, again, it all comes down to the complexity of the problem. That's what I think. I think it's the autonomy part is amazing if you can achieve it, but the question is how much of the software solves the complicated problem you've got in your head. If the answer is very little of it, and then you have to go and put the whole thing into Excel and go and sit there and compute it yourself, then you've done a lousy job. You've only got 20% of the way there. As far as you think you have, you're 20%.
Yeah.
If the software can do 90% of that level, and you're left with 10% crumbs on the end, that's pretty good. That's pretty unbelievable. And the question is, how much of that big problem set did you buy it off? If you didn't buy it off enough, it was a waste of time. So, I mean, that's our design model for Pyramid itself. Is we're not here to build simple stuff because we don't see that as being a long-term strategy for business. It doesn't work. If our customers see no value in it, then it's just whose pie chart, like you said, who's got the rounder pie chart from one year to the next? It's a complete waste of time. If you can do something unbelievably clever and keep it still, of course, that's the other problem. Got to keep it unbelievably simple in doing that. Then, yeah, you've done something profound, and now we're on our way there. Is it entirely autonomous for every use case? No. I think a lot of companies still struggle on how to connect all the dots at the end there. But it's a process. The question is, how close are we to getting to that? And I think every year we make a bigger and bigger stride to getting to there.
Yeah, I think we're in a super interesting, exciting moment in time, and definitely we at Pyramid are probably at the tip of the technology revolution that would drive customers. So back to the history. Let's do another round of embarrassment.
Yes.
So and actually, when we met, you had a very successful business in the analytics space, which you sold. I had a business selling a micro payment system over mobile phones. Speaking of too early, you didn't have iPhones, like web apps, all kinds of weird stuff. But
how old we are.
Oh my goodness, we are very old. So I had a business in micropayments. Obviously, was running on data, and we were trying to do coupon personalization. So back then, AI wasn't the thing, but we were trying to dream up what would be the next best offer and all kinds of algorithms like that we still play with today. And we met around that point in time. So you had a very successful experience in analytics for a certain industry. Mm-hmm. And then your next vision was, no, let's go into the general market. Why that change?
Well, first of all, we had a lot of headaches getting that original solution to work.
Good to know that at Pyramid, zero headaches. Zero. I never heard the CTO
headaches?
complaints.
I
It's
don't know what you're
unbelievable.
talking about. We're headache-free. This is most of the people here are on vacation. Most of the year. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, so that's why the office is empty. They all told me it's work from home stuff.
That's right. It's not. It's not work from not home. Now look, that business was very difficult because it followed the same design pattern. Can we deploy a super high-powered analytic solution through a browser? We're talking IE6 era.
Wow.
IE6, crazy stuff like ActiveX.
Most of our listeners don't even know what IE is.
Yeah, well, look it up. It's in the history books. Look at the Wikipedia. I'm sure you'll find it. That's right. So, yes, no IE6. I mean, that was IE6, but so we had a huge amount of problems trying to get it to work. I mean, we got it to work, obviously. It was a fully functioning business, but wow, was it difficult to make all those pieces come together. So we had decided that we are going to build the antidote to the headache. That's what Pyramid is. And we were convinced that the same problem that we had in that business could be applied to every business. And to some degree, as time has gone by, every other vertical we've seen in the marketplace has picked up on that idea. What moved people, I think, wasn't so much their realization that BI is useful. It was actually the realization that their data is worth a lot of money. And if they don't mine it, they're leaving money literally on the table. So in other words, the value of the data started to kick in. And that's it. Things started to build. So Pyramid is actually still the same generic idea from 20 odd years ago. Just all the pieces have fallen into place. The high tech, the sophistication, the ability to run flawlessly through a browser, which is quite unbelievable. And you look how complicated and sophisticated the product is, and to think it's running in a browser and not running on your desktop, it's unbelievable. This is a testament to the browsers and how far they came, JavaScript, how well it came along. I mean, all these clever things. And of course, all the clever things we did with it. I mean, doing some crazy things with the way it works inside a user's browser. Okay. But also, the world of data also picked up. All the modern data warehousing technologies,
right?
The machine learning stuff, all of that fits together into something like, actually, all the pieces are fitting. It's almost like we had a Lego set where we started to build it, a decade ago with 20 pieces, but there were 20 pieces missing. And we needed the market to get right in place. We needed the customers to get in place. We needed everyone to realize it. And the AI, by the way, is just another piece of that puzzle. It just so happens that we've been thinking about AI, and we've implemented AI in Pyramid now for at least 5 or 6 years. I think what the market thinks are great ideas for AI inside data analytics and decision intelligence, Pyramid has been doing that for years. It's not new for us. obviously things are getting better, and new technologies like the LLMs, the large language models, fantastic. It improves everything. But the general concepts have been in play for us for ages. So I remember when we used to speak a lot like, wow, should we invest in natural language processing? And I can say for myself, I was like, yeah, I don't know who's really going to use this stuff. And like, you know, because it was rudimentary. It's like, what, who's going to understand what language I'm talking in, all the rest of it. But we did it. We bit the bullet. We implemented it. And today it's like, which idiot is not into the stuff? I mean, you're a moron if you're not into the space. So we've been there, done that. And the only difference between the problem from 20 years ago to today is just the degree of power and sophistication. But the broad idea is the same thing. Take crappy data, fix it, enrich it, maybe run it through data science and machine learning algorithms to come up with something profound. Run it through some analysis, maybe visualize it, why not? But ultimately, tell me something that I didn't know beforehand and do that with the least amount of work for me, the end user. That's the same story.
Which we call decision intelligence.
Yes. Well, it is decision intelligence. I think it used to be called business intelligence because the general idea was you want to be intelligent about your business. But what people missed is the business you don't need to be intelligent about your business. You need to be intelligent about the decisions you're going to make on your business.
Right.
And so it's actually the decision that matters, not the business itself. So I think visualization is much more in line with BI because it's about let's look what the business looks like. Well, that's great. I do care. Let's be honest. I do care about what the business looks like. But I'm way, way more interested in you telling me what do I do based on what I see on the screen. It doesn't have to be all bad news. It could be, how do I make this bigger? How do I make this faster? Or the opposite. Why is it so bad? What do I make my customers happier? How do I build my products cheaper? I mean, there's lots of things that go into it. It doesn't have to be all company. It can be organizational. Everybody has a problem of limited resources and how do I do things faster, quicker, cheaper, better. Those are decisions. That's what DI is about. And I think it's a vastly different game to BI because the benchmark of hitting that note is extremely far from simple visualizations. And that goes back to our original idea.
So AI will be the extension of DI, or DI is the outcome of AI?
Yes, remember we had this conversation?
Yeah. Oh, we keep on having them.
BI and AI gave birth to DI or some weird stuff like that. So
it's the ugly baby.
Ugly baby. I think the best way to think of it is that AI is the stuff inside any software, not just decision intelligence, that allows you to use whatever it is better. So when you have a self-driving car, it's the AI that tells the car how to drive on its own.
Right.
Simple. So in our world, AI is the thing inside the software that's going to make that decision easier to find, easier to execute, easier to understand. It could be a million different things, or any part of the data factory to get from beginning to end. That's what the AI does. So the AI is a part of DI. If the decision intelligence is completely automated, you could argue that in itself is AI, which is a very good and fair statement. So all of these things intersect. And for us today, we've got all of them. You have to have the whole constellation of these things in the same box. That's, again, what our story has been. A single box with everything inside it. Faster, quicker, better, cheaper, easier. Yeah, it's true. I think if you have to learn 9 pieces of software and you have to glue them together yourself, it just doesn't work. It's going back to Lego.
The buy versus build.
Yeah, and not even necessarily buy versus build. I mean, that's a different angle. But I could argue, if I took Meccano out, Lego out, and some Lego that wasn't Lego, the hacked version of Lego, the fake Lego, and say, build me a castle, and the pieces don't fit together, it's actually a challenge. You're like, yeah, I can get there with a bit of glue here and sticky tape there. We're saying, no. One box, all the pieces fit. You'll build a better result, and it'll be quicker to do. That's one aspect of it, for sure, and maybe the biggest aspect of it. But that's our belief. That's what the idea was from the get-go.
So back to the history.
Yes.
We had quite a journey. I mean, with Pyramid, right? We we pivoted the company in the middle of the journey. We raised money. We started as a bootstrap. What's your most joyful moment in the last 15
this better
years?
be edited out.
And I'll let you think about that.
Come back in an hour. I'll get think of it.
Yeah, but maybe for...
Now we'll ask you. See, what was your most joyous moment? I'm interested to hear this one because I'm...
So I think that, it's kind of interesting because I think there are lots of moments of pure satisfaction and lots of moments of pure despair. So it's definitely a journey. It's a roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, we talked about changes in the world of data and AI and the appreciation for analytics.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe analyst recognition, raising money, someone from the outside actually, in a way, endorse you. The first customers.
Yep.
The first, actually, coming to think about it, I should have probably said that first. The first employees, like the first people that, in a way, took the bet together with us. It was, we started in some weird backroom office, shared space before WeWork was a thing. We were sleeping under the table, literally, some of us.
Yes, for those first releases. I remember that.
Yeah. So, that there were very humble beginnings, then very successful times, and then again, humble disappointments.
I mean, it's been up and down, right? I mean, it has been difficult. We happen to be in an industry with every big company that you can name as one of our competitors. So we weren't just, happy with just Microsoft. We had to include IBM, Oracle, SAP, Google, Amazon,
Alibaba Salesforce.
The only one who hasn't joined is Apple. just any day now they're going to come up with.
Don't give them ideas.
Apple charts, iCharts, or something. You can just see it coming out. So we picked a tough neighborhood to play in, and also I think we went about growing the company in a far more organic way than I think a lot of our competitors who just crash landed and just went after something, which is fine. I think we ended up taking a different route. In the meantime, the product is extremely strong, despite the fact we're such a small company. I think it's a testament to the local talent, testament to the fact that we understand the space really well, and the fact that we're not trying to pretend to be something. We're actually the real deal. So I think all of that. But to your point, some of the highs and the lows, I mean, there's been, I would count moving offices. You always think, okay, this is it. It's a great new office. And then finally we moved to the next one. Like, oh my God, how did we live in that other place? We've done that every single time. Every single time we've moved, they're like, what was that?
Well, we upgrade. At least we do that.
That's right. That's what I'm saying.
We keep upgrading.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of funny times. I think the funniest that I can remember was the trip to that conference when we all drove down. We drove down to the conference, and I was sick. And everyone went down well, and everyone came back sick. And the whole company was sick for a month.
Yeah, because then the company could actually fit a car.
2 cars.
And you killed the company.
It was 2 cars, and I went in the second car on the way back, because the first car wasn't well. Something like that.
Yes,
okay.
That is true.
That's right.
That is true.
It's the small
What
things.
happened to the company? Avi killed it.
That's right.
Lovely.
We've all got the flu from one person.
Yeah, it's true. It was a conference in Eilat.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely collected lots of interesting memories. Do you remember the first time we got included as a dot in the Magic Quadrant?
Yeah, it was 2014, I think.
Something like that.
Yes.
I remember we weren't able to open the email. We were too scared to see if we're in or out.
But we had that problem for years, every year. Like,
That
oh my
is true.
God, are we in? Are we out? Are we in? Are we out?
That is, but the first time
It was terrible. Yes.
was definitely interesting. So that was Gardner. The first customers that we had,
Yes.
the VA, which was one of our first U.S. federal customers. Today, it's a multi-million-dollar customer for the company, with tens of thousands of daily active users logging into the system, actually running healthcare using Pyramid. This is super duper.
It's not just running the healthcare; it's running everything. It's running the business. I mean, well, not the business, but the entire department. I think is the right way of saying it. Yeah. I think it's one of the best examples of how to do it. I mean, they've got so many users, and the number of people actually administering it is minuscule compared to the footprint size. It's an unbelievable story when you look at it. It's also unbelievable that they gave us that vote of confidence in us, and the fact that they still do is tremendous. I think, but along the way we've picked up other huge, large customers, and we always ask ourselves, well, what is the hallmark of those customers? What is the story that works? And it's very difficult to come up with a generic answer. But I think one of the things, not the only thing, but probably one of the things, is they're all looking for something way, way smarter than just entry level stuff. They don't want to have a box and check. Yeah, we've got the analytics. Thanks for coming. They're looking for something with depth. Not everybody, not all the time, but holistically for the overall organization, that's what they're looking at. I don't know. I mean, that's my impression. There's probably other ways of coming up with a rule of thumb, but that's what I think it's.
I think that what we're seeing probably in the last 2 years at Pyramid is that you have people that understand, and we like to say work doesn't work, right? Internally, people don't really appreciate that term because what does that mean? We know what it means, that either it works or it doesn't work. So when we talk to people that we call them change agents, right? But people that are in the job, with an analytics title for less than 2 years, they're not necessarily tied to the legacy. So they're happy to take it out. They appreciate the fact that it really doesn't do what it's supposed to be doing. Yep. And when we're able to solve those unique problems almost in no time, then it's like magic for them. So, we joked before that we're in the magic business. Maybe that's the magic.
Well, I mean, it is. I mean, I'm astounded at how few people realize how the difference between good and bad. I mean, it's on the one hand, I completely understand it, because it's a very difficult space to understand and appreciate without having experienced it. And for you to experience it, you have to experience both a good and a bad run to understand there's a difference. It's hard to tell, you wouldn't know if the restaurant is any good unless you went to another one that was bad, or vice versa. So that's one glitch. But, the space is not a greenfield. There are plenty of people who've done this multiple times. And I think that's one of our challenges, is people finding out about Pyramid. But when they do, they say, oh, my goodness, what a difference.
It's too good to be true.
Yeah. And that's when we think of the magic, we think of like, wow, if you only knew how much is in the box, you just don't realize it. So I think from that perspective, there is a lot of clever stuff in the solution, but it also means we've got customers, and all of our customers to date, for the most part, understand that so-called magic. That's why they're customers. With so many choices in the marketplace, if they were looking for something simpler and less interesting and less sophisticated, there are plenty of choices.
Right.
But the further up you go in terms of your desire, demands, requirements, the hurt ends dramatically. And that's where we play.
So we're coming to an end on this episode. Where do you think... Okay. Listen, time flies when you're having fun.
Who knew? Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Where is this market is headed? What's the future like?
I think... I was telling someone the other day that according to some analysts, we're supposed to be a $30 billion market today. And I think it's an extremely undervalued statement. I think the market is worth $300 billion today, because people are not realizing that with all the Gen AI stuff, and everyone's suddenly realizing, wait a moment, anybody can use this data, anybody can do something with it, then yeah, actually the entire spectrum of opportunity is opening up, and suddenly anything with data behind it, and think about that for a second, it's everything. Everything has got data behind it today. There's nothing really left that's analog. It's all digital. You're capturing data about everything. Can all be mined, can all be used. You can do something smarter with it if only you can get your hands on it and do what you want to do with it. So I think it's a massive, massive market. And if you add the AI pepper to the conversation, we're talking a market that must be in the hundreds of billions. It has to be. I think, again, divorcing the world from the pie chart business.
Yeah.
Pie charts is yesterday's idea. So if you broaden it like that, yeah, I think it's huge, and that's why I'm excited for Pyramid. I think we're literally at the fulcrum of all these events. It's not just AI, it's not just data. It's taking those two things together, plus all the other bits and pieces that make it work, and actually delivering something that someone can make out of it.
So autonomous companies, universal income, and that's what we're all going to be facing.
Okay, all right, maybe. I'm looking forward to the autonomous CEO.
It's already there.
Autonomous CTO too, I might add. But
Yeah,
I can see the CEO being knocked off. I mean,
I think it's a useless role.
I
I
agree.
really do.
Yeah, well, we agree on
It's,
something. That's impressive.
That's a new.
That's
That's
right.
a new thing. That's
right.
good.
Yes. Okay, good. You all heard it today. Thanks
It's
for
on
coming.
record. Yeah.
That's right.
Well, that
All
was that was lovely and pleasure.
It was.
And
For
yeah,
you in particular, yes.
Yeah, it was a little bit redundant and boring, but I'll get used to it.
Excellent.
Awesome.
All
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you again.
And thank you.
No, thank you.
No, really. Thank you.
All right.